Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you've ever faced a big academic challenge, or maybe you're staring one down right now, you definitely know that feeling, that mix of excitement and sheer nerves. We're talking today about the thesis defense. It's like the final boss level after months, maybe even years, of hard work, research, all that writing. So our mission in this deep dive is to really equip you. We want to go past the usual advice and give you some solid strategies, and importantly, the right mindset for that defense. We're pulling insights directly from a great source. Saurav's thesis defense tips, how to prepare and present with confidence.
Yeah, and it's interesting because while it feels like this huge high-stakes test, Sarv really reframes it. The point made is that it's not just a test. It's actually this unique chance, really, to showcase all the intense work you've put in. It's your moment to explain it all.
Okay, so let's jump in. Saurav's first big piece of advice sounds, well, kind of obvious at first. Know your thesis inside out.
Yeah.
The idea being, look, you wrote it, so you should really, truly own it.
Right, but owning it goes deeper than just remembering chapter summaries. Sarov suggests you need to do a really thorough reread, and not just to remember facts, but to get super clear on your objectives, your methodology, findings, conclusions, all of it. What's really key here, I think, is the emphasis on being ready to explain why you made certain choices.
The why. Why that specific research design? Why interpret the data that way?
Exactly. Examiners love to probe those underlying assumptions, the foundations. So being able to clearly articulate your rationale, your reasoning for every step, that's what transforms it. It moves beyond just recall. It shows you've really thought it through, mastered the material intellectually.
Okay, so it's about defending the intellectual structure, not just the facts themselves. But what happens, say, when an examiner pushes back? Maybe on a subtle point or something they're an expert on. How does knowing your why help then?
Well, that's exactly where it helps. If you deeply understand why you made each choice, you're not just reciting memorized lines. You're actually defending a coherent argument you built. So if they question an assumption, you can explain the theoretical basis or why it was necessary for your method. It changes the dynamic.
Makes sense. It becomes less about, did you remember this? And more, can you justify this sound approach?
Precisely. It shows scholarly thinking, not just memory.
So once you've got that deep understanding, that ownership, the next thing is the presentation itself. And Sarov has this really interesting principle here. Essentially, less is more for your slides.
Yes, exactly. Keep it clean, keep it focused. The recommendation is a clear structure. Intro and research question first, then your methodology, then key findings. And finally, conclusions and implications. The slides should be simple, uncluttered. It's not just about looking good, though that helps. It's about guiding your audience, guiding the examiners through potentially complex stuff without hitting them with a wall of text. Your voice should be the main focus.
Right, you don't want them squinting at the screen trying to read paragraphs while you're talking. But how do you find that balance between less is more and, well, not giving enough detail for an academic defense?
Yeah.
They need the methodology, right?
That's the art, isn't it? Sarov suggests thinking of slides as like visual signposts or prompts, not the whole script. You, the presenter, fill in the details verbally. A slide might show the key steps of your method or a crucial graph from your findings. But you explain the nuances, the specific data points, the reasoning. It forces you to really distill the core message for the live presentation.
Okay, that makes sense. Use the slides as triggers for your explanation. So what about the part everyone dreads? The questions. After you've done your slick, concise presentation, Sarov talks about anticipating questions and, crucially, practicing the answers.
Oh yeah, this is where the anxiety often spikes, and Sarov tackles it directly. You absolutely should expect questions about your assumptions, questions about your methods, why you chose them over others, and definitely questions about the limitations of your study.
Right, the classic ones, like why this topic, or how reliable is your data?
Exactly, or what are the limitations here? Sarov lists those examples because they come up so often. The real power, though, comes from practice. Practice answering these. With mentors, friends, even just talking to a mirror. It's not about memorizing perfect answers word for word. It's about building confidence in your ability to think on your feet and articulate your reasoning clearly.
Practice builds that kind of mental agility, maybe, not just memory. Is there a common mistake people make when they practice answering questions? Like, do they focus too much on easy ones?
That can definitely happen, or focusing only on reinforcing what they want to talk about, rather than anticipating the tougher questions an examiner might genuinely have. Sarv's advice implies you need to practice the challenging stuff, questions about limitations, methodology critiques. Getting comfortable with those uncomfortable questions in practice makes the real thing much less jarring. You learn to think under pressure.
Okay, good point. Challenge yourself in practice. Now, shifting from prep to the actual performance, Sarah brings up something practical but often overlooked: time management. During the presentation itself.
Yes. It sounds small, but it's really important. You usually have a set time slot, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes for the presentation part. Sticking to that shows respect for the examiner's time, and frankly, it makes your presentation more impactful. The simplest advice, but super effective according to Sarov, is just use a timer when you practice. Like, actually time yourself.
Yeah, I can see that. Nothing worse than seeing someone rush frantically through their last 5 slides, or conversely, dragging on way too long.
Exactly. Timing your practice runs ensures you know the pace, you hit your key points without rushing or rambling. It's about being professional and polished.
And I imagine knowing you can fit it into the time probably helps with nerves on the day too. Takes one worry off the table.
Absolutely. It gives you a sense of control. You walk in knowing, okay, I've got this pacing down. It frees up mental energy to focus on the content and engaging with the examiners, not watching the clock.
Which brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece, your mindset on the day. Sarv's advice here is really interesting. Stay calm and be honest.
Yes, honesty. It might seem counterintuitive in a defense setting, but it's crucial. If you get a question that completely throws you, it is okay to admit you don't know the answer. Or perhaps that you haven't considered that specific angle. It shows integrity. Sarv advises staying composed, thanking the examiner for the question, even if it's a tough one, and then answering as best you can, or even saying you'd need to think more about that specific point.
Wow, okay. So admitting I don't know isn't failure. It's actually demonstrating
Mm,
academic integrity,
yeah.
humility.
Exactly that. It takes courage, for sure, but it shifts the defense away from being just a test of perfect knowledge recall. It becomes more a demonstration of how you engage intellectually, how you handle the limits of your knowledge, how you think critically even when surprised. That humility can be a real strength.
So, tying this all together, Sarah's final thought really sums it up nicely. Your thesis defense is not just a test, it's your opportunity to showcase your hard work, critical thinking, and academic confidence.
Couldn't agree more. If you prepare thoroughly, really deeply, practice diligently to build that resilience and cultivate that mindset of calm honesty, you can absolutely make a strong, positive impression. The aim, like Sarv says, is to defend with clarity, present with pride. It's your moment.
So thinking about your own work and remembering this isn't just a test, but a chance to showcase your unique thinking. What specific things could you do in your prep or in the presentation itself to really highlight your individual intellectual journey, your specific contribution? How could you channel those inevitable nerves into focused energy, making your defense not just something to survive, but a moment you can actually present with pride, something to think about?